Those of you guys that are familiar with me and my bass fishing may not necessarily think of a drop shot rig when you think of what my style of bass fishing is. And I knew with 225 pro anglers pounding the James River system, I needed to catch fish behind guys. These fish set up on all the obvious pieces of cover and structure that you see behind me, all around me. Every dock gets hit, every laydown, every stump. So those fish quickly become conditioned, and the fishing typically gets tougher and tougher as practice week goes on and the tournament starts to roll through. I could probably catch fish in this dirty water, drop shotting a purple worm and flipping it on the same fish that everybody else is flipping something like a big heavy creature bait with a 1 ounce weight, big jigs, even a wacky rigged weightless worm. I figured coming in with a little West Coast finesse would generate some good bites. And sure enough, it did. My girlfriend Riley caught an absolute monster 8-pound, 8-ounce, big post-spawn, 25-inch long, giant-headed bass on one of the unofficial practice days. And it continued to get bites throughout practice. And it's a simple technique. I literally just take this bait and flip it exactly where I would with a jig or a Texas rig or a wacky rigged soft bait and hold it there. And especially in these tidal systems, as that current's moving in and around this cover that these bass are tucked in these little eddies in, that worm is actually doing quite a lot. You'll see from the video throughout the competition where I'm catching fish on this thing, I'm not really shaking the worm like you see a lot of guys do. There is such a thing as overworking a bait, in my opinion, especially in heavy pressured waters, especially when you get a cold snap and it shuts the activity level of these fish down. All you have to do is put that bait in their face and that worm will suspend. And I'm not even trying to move this thing and it's moving, and it's doing a lot of the same thing in the water. Now, what's key about me rigging it on a heavier conventional rod rather than a traditional spinning setup with light 6 to 8 pound line that you guys are accustomed to seeing is that I'm targeting big fish with this little 6-inch worm. If I had hooked the multiple 4-pounders that I was shaking off in practice in and around these barnacle covered pieces of cover, you're probably not going to land very many of those bites. So this system employs heavier gear. I've got 50-pound braided mainline to a 20-pound short fluorocarbon leader, and that allows me to put maximum pressure on these fish and have a lot more abrasion resistance to up my chances of putting them in the boat. And what I love about this rig as well is utilizing this weaveless wide gap hook that gives me a lot more flexibility to flip this bait in those sticks, behind those logs, in these super snaggy cypress tree root systems, and come through that cover clean. You can finesse it up and over that stuff. I very rarely got snagged because of it, but my hookup ratio is really, really good still. Watch the videos here. You'll see that when I'm bit, I'm not giving them a big old traditional bass hook set. I've got no stretch braided line to a short length of fluorocarbon leader, and it's a combination of a lift and reel, and those fish will pin. And another nice thing I like about this style of rigging is, man, I'm a cheap bastard. I'm frugal as they come. We actually got through 3 days of practice on one worm, and I was hoping that I'd have that lucky worm all the way throughout competition.
Give me some of that, buddy.
Yes, that's a pig.
Oh, man. Go figure, I catch one of my smallest fish on a swim bait.
Your
one
biggest.
of my biggest one on a finesse.
Oh, that's crazy.
That's nuts. Oh, she had it good.
It actually prolongs the life of your soft plastic bait. And really, I only went through about 5 worms in 8 days of fishing. So there's another added benefit. If you guys zoom in there, you can actually see a bunch of bite marks and teeth marks from multiple fish from the tournament. And we're still fishing, it's still getting bit. When I was a kid, I would take all my used plastics and actually remelt them with a lighter and bring them back together so I can continue to use them, because I was a broke ass 10 to 28-year-old. Like, I needed to stretch my dollar. This is a great way to do it. This is also a great way to not lose a bunch of rigs. Drop shot weights, hooks, worms, fluorocarbon leader, all that stuff can add up. Give this little twist on a finesse rig. It's still finesse. You still have to finesse those bites. But I've had a lot of experience catching a lot of bass throughout my life on light line. But unfortunately, I've also had a lot of experience losing the right ones on that light gear. And there was a shift in my fishing where I decided that I would rather not get bit than get bit and lose the fish that really counts, whether it's for fun or whether it's in a competition format. But the benefit that we have now in 2021 versus the 90s is 100% fluorocarbon leader. It's got the same refractive index as water. So if you got a high quality fluorocarbon leader, that 20 pound is no more visible than 6 pound. Don't be worried about that. They're gonna bite it. Trust me, they bite it. You're seeing them bite 20 pound line. We call this the Bubba Shot. Some of you guys might have seen something like a Tokyo rig with a prefabricated wire leader system. Great system and all, but your boy here has been incorporating a beefed up drop shot version for decades. Appreciate you guys tuning in. Oh, dingo dango. Oh wait, don't. Lift and wind, lift and wind.
LRPs. Some of the best yet. Some of the best yet. They bite like that, like that, like that. Big bass, double digits.
Kick up the fire right on top.
Low fall, blast off, trying to get some cast off. Doing this here for years, get my pass on. Stream mask on, putting in work. Snap back, got me focused, never settle on the shirt. I missed one and hit one, man, that's getting some. 2, 3, 4, 5 more, come on, that's ripping up. The way the basement's sticking, the way my feet.